Isn't that amazing that here we are already, you know? Seemed it was only like a flash ago we were checking in. Actually, you know, in a certain sense, it's often said, you know, life is like that. You know, it just can it already be? Am I already? No, another year. Another year. Yeah, it gets faster and faster, as you know. Or some of you may not yet know that, but it does get faster and faster. um, so the old, you know, the old injunction and encouragement in the traditions was like somehow, while you know, sort of finding greater inner calm and settledness, also don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. What matters most? What really matters most? And we may have many answers to that, you know, but some number of humans alive, 8 billion, just hit 8 billion, I think last week, right? Alive, find that they're kind of drawn to to that question, what matters most, in an open way, like not jumping to the readily provided answers about what matters most. Culturally readily offered answers are, you know, car, house, career, partner, family, whatever it may be for you, or you know, fame, fortune, usually variants thereof, you know, or it can be just a whole lot of comfort and less distress or less discomfort, you know, what matters most. And so, but some number have a real open heart and mind about that question, what matters most. Aren't prepared to just latch onto a readily given answer. And then if we don't do that, it invites bigger, better questions like, well, what on earth is happening anyway in just being alive? What is this experience? I mean, we can say, you know, sort of, what do I know? I know there's this body and it seems to be mine to be responsible for somehow, until it eventually conks out, you know, and it does various sense experiences, you know, for most of us it's seeing and hearing and touching and tasting and smelling. There's also inward experience going on, like conscious experience in the mind. You know, we can see images in our minds, we can hear speech in our minds, we have emotions. All of this is going on, and you know, out of those sense experiences we construct a way we understand the world, that you know, there's solid objects and we move among them, we live in them, we eat some of them, we do various things with various objects, we drive some of them, we fly in some of them, whatever. You know, there's mountains we go over and seas and all the rest of it. We construct our understanding of the world, you know, through these sense experiences. And we are this thing called alive for a certain period of time, and it seems inevitable that at some point that thread of time for us gets snipped and it's over. This experience we're having is over. You know, so what was it in the first place? You know, before it's over, what is it? And related to that, of course, deeply related to that, what is it? Is who the hell is it having this experience? Who actually am I? Now, you know, it's perfectly reasonable and probably more common than not to be very interested in these questions. It's okay, you know, for any number of reasons, people simply might not have the time, you know, or energy to devote to really any portion of curiosity about this, or maybe fleeting moments, but then they're just too busy with the daily grind of whatever it may be to spend time examining, exploring these questions. Some somehow are able to find time to, if we're curious about these matters, what are we going to do about it? Well, this is where a practice like this really comes in. If we're deeply curious, or even somewhat curious, or curious if we might get curious, which actually is the case with quite a number, this practice has a place. This practice of doing this very counterintuitive thing, and actually often difficult thing, of just being still, which is mainly what we're doing. Mainly what we're doing this week is disengaging from our ordinary activities, which usually require movement. Sometimes very little movements, like fingers on a keyboard, movements of the mind, and sometimes heftier movements, but movements. And here we let go, we disengage from all of that, and we become still. And yes, in a sense, really, basically, probably in a sense only for ease of the body, we do little bouts of walking. It's very merciful that we do, actually. It's not only that, because we're also, through the walking, initiating this critical process in practice where we're bringing the experience that we can start to find deeper levels of experience in the stillness into activity. And walking is an excellent first level challenge for bringing the clarity of stillness that we get into action. It's a very relatively simple activity, walking. And one friend and mentor of mine has 17 levels of challenge. Walking is level 1. 17 is an extremely aggressive, confrontational, difficult encounter with another person. To keep clear awareness in that, you can see how hard that might be. So we're being still here. With, let's say, approximately 2 main purposes. One is the settling. The settling. Actually, I'd almost say the healing, the tending, the soothing of our commonly rattled nervous systems. It's Shakespeare had that line, sleep that knitteth up the ravelled sleeve of care. This is sitting, meditating, Zen stillness, the art of being still, of just sitting, that knitteth up the ravelled sleeve of care. Care meaning worry. It soothes us. It doesn't do it in the most straightforward way, because very often when we start sitting, we don't find calm and ease, we find turbulence. We find we've been sitting on a little volcano without noticing it. Busy enough to not have to notice the damn thing, but now we have to notice it. And of course that's a first, I don't know if it's first, but it's a critical step, because actually in this process of clarifying, yes, the settling is essential. The sort of calming, settling is essential. Or we'll never have the clear enough attention and awareness to examine anything, We'll be too tossed around. But how to get to that, really the only way is through. It's by starting to allow ourselves to be storm-tossed, to be the way we are and be with that. Because commonly out there, we reach for the fridge, we reach for the phone, we reach for the, Instagram, we reach for anything. The moment there's a twinge of unease, we're onto something, right? Because we don't want to have to feel it. So you come here and you can't do that. Well, you're encouraged strongly not to, You certainly can't do it in the Zendo. So what happens? Well, sometimes we'll dive into lots of thoughts because somehow we can hide in them, get distracted by them. Maybe 10 minutes will go by of this agonizingly, gruelingly slow, long sit, If I just get on some nice train of thought, I can forget about it, hopefully find at least 5 minutes have gone by, But really, we want to be exposing, seeing, reckoning with what's really going on in us through this practice. We want to be, because we want to be not distracting ourselves from it. We want to be learning to tend to it. We want to be learning to actually give ourselves the kind of kind awareness that can help to heal these things, and that we're all pre-installed with. That's the beauty, actually, is that we actually come ready-made with exactly the kind of awareness we need in order to help with our uneasy hearts. We've got it already. So part of this practice is letting that come forth. What is it? Well, it's basically a wider kind of awareness, a wider, clearer kind of awareness that just, there are practices that deliberately try to help us find it. Zen doesn't do that, just says sit, just sit. And we start to find it ourselves. It's not, we won't find it perfectly, it'll come and go, but we will start to get tastes of it. There's a way of being here, where we're not in torment. Instead, we're in ease. And there's a clear, sort of more expansive sense of things that we just find comes up quite naturally. So that helps us settle. And then that allows us to start tending to the other main project, which we could call exploration, exploratory, examining, investigating. What's going on here? Who is it going on to? Who is having this experience? Who am I? What is it to be alive? What is it to die? And what is the relationship between this person I've always thought I always have tended to think I am, and that world out there of many other people and many other kinds of things? What's the relationship between this person in here and all that out there? Okay, two projects, right? They're sort of hand in glove. And especially in a way, in some traditions, there's more emphasis on the first, and in some there's more on the second, and in many there's emphasis on both. And Zen maybe has depending on the lineage of Zen you're in, might have a bit more emphasis on one or the other. I'd say probably in this one, Sambo Zen, there's a little more emphasis on the exploration side. Who am I? What is this? And we heard beautifully about that from Valerie yesterday with her talk on Mu being the common battering ram that's used. Wu men called it a brickbat. It's a like a mighty mallet for bashing on the gateless gate. You get this big battering ram, mu. It seems so tiny, so slight, just a little sound, mu. But actually it's powerful. But it's hitting against the gate that is no gate. So it's all a bit contradictory. It's a big battering ram hitting against a gate, but it's a tiny little puff of a thought, mu, just a little thought. And what it's hitting against is a gate that isn't even a gate. What does all this mean? It actually does mean something. It does, actually, beautifully. It really does mean something very, very real. That's directly about what I was just talking about. Me in here, world out there. That's a barrier. We usually think it's the skin bag, as Buddhism calls it. There's the skin bag, and I am everything within the skin bag plus the skin bag itself. I think I get to claim the skin as mine also. And I'm not whatever is not the skin bag. And that's how it is. I am, I don't know exactly what I am, but I'm sure I'm in here. That much I can be sure of. And I can be sure that I'm not out there. That I look at the floor and the floor is not me. That's clear. Well, not so fast. This is what mu can help. There's a view that mu can help to adjust. You see, it seems so incontrovertible, indisputable. Obviously, Henry, you're wearing your pants, and just underneath it there's your skin. You own the skin, you don't own the pants. Well, you might actually literally own them, but you are not the pants, but you are the skin. You walk on the floor, that's you moving over the floor. The floor is not you. You are the thing, the body moving, not the floor. Well, okay, it would seem that way. It would seem that way. It would seem that way, but many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people over the millennia have attested to the possibility of a really different view. And it's not a view that is pathological. It's not a view that really seems to sort of mess you up. It actually seems to help a lot in many, many ways. It gives an ease, a greater sense of love, a greater sense of wishing to serve. We heard about that again from Valerie. And it also, above all, most remarkably, it's closer to reality. When we get to this other view, we find that it is more real than what we had previously believed to be real. That's always a feature of it, that we're seeing things more clearly, more accurately. So that's sort of what mu can bring about. And we call it awakening. And it's the discovery that actually there's a level of my very being, my very self, that is all inclusive, that isn't separate, that has nothing as separate from it. It's a level, it's a register, it's a dimension of actual reality that we just hadn't seen before, hadn't tasted before. But it's here, it's real, and it cuts through the three-dimensional view in which sort of I'm here and there's distance and something out there away from me. It's another dimension where there isn't distance. There isn't space, and there isn't time. And it's what all these great traditions have been pointing to, and it's what we can discover about who we really are through sitting still for extended periods, just like this. Okay, now, so that's my little sort of presentation of purpose here. Okay. Now, I want to say a few slightly more sort of practical things. I'm not going to talk for a whole lot longer. So I mean, but actually, you know, anybody who's feeling like they really somehow the sound of a human voice droning on can be tremendously soporific. Can make you want to sleep like nothing else. I know, I use it at night. You know, one of our sons is really into these fantasy novels. I know there's a whole world of fantasy novels that is totally new to me, but he uses the same Audible as us. So we got, you know, our various sort of august and sage and ponderous volumes, amidst all these hundreds of sort of fantasy novels he's got, which are enormous projects. Like this guy we're reading at the moment called Brandon Sanderson, and listening to, he's got his world that he's created in these fantasy novels has like 12 worlds in it. Each world gets a series of novels, you know, so, and they're long. Like the one we're listening to now is 45 hours long. I don't know how many pages that is. But, you know, so he's got, I mean, imagine the scale of it. You're talking like at least 100 books to just conjure this one world he's come up with, which has these sort of worlds within it or planets within it or whatever. It's mind-blowing, and it's really good. And so you know, if we're awake at night, we just click on Brandon. And they're very good actors, and they talk softly, and it's a marvelous way of drifting off. So here we are in the Zendo on day 2, and there are 5 hindrances that commonly come up in practice. It's a traditional view, and this kind of experience of a retreat, one of its treasures, one of its great gifts to us, is that it's going to bring up, almost without doubt, all 5 hindrances. You're going to get the full house when you're here. 5 hindrances. I can pretty much guarantee it. Why is that good? It's an incredible opportunity. How are you going to sit with these things that are very common human experiences, but this kind of container brings them out. It draws them out. It's like I've got some weird sore actually on my foot at the moment. I think it was from running, and I must have jabbed into a cactus or something and not noticed it went straight through the thin fabric of the shoe, a new shoe. And I just saw a body healer guy recently, a great old friend. He said, "Oh yeah, just put it in hot Epsom salts, you know, foot bath, and the heat will draw out whatever's in there." And actually, I think it's working, sort of slowly working. So I'm not going to give you gruesome details, but I think it's working. That's what this is. It's a hot Epsom foot bath to draw out whatever needs to be drawn out of you. All of us have stuff that has to be drawn out. I used to always say a session was basically like a sweat lodge. You know, the story of the sweat lodge is that the 2 brothers go off hunting, and they're feckless idiots, and they get caught by a spider who wraps them up and hangs them upside down and injects poison into them in her cave. The sister, the younger sister, is a little bit smarter, and she figures, those brothers of mine, why aren't they back yet? I bet they did something dumb. Like, actually, there was a rainfall. I missed a little piece out of the story. Rain falls. 2 brothers take refuge in cave, not realizing it's spider's cave. So then they get caught. Younger sister says, those idiot brothers of mine aren't back. I bet they took refuge in Spider's cave when it was raining. So off she goes. Sure enough, there they are, hanging from the ceiling, upside down, wrapped up, poisoned. But she knows what to do. She builds a big fire in the cave. Spider's out. Builds a big fire in the cave. Puts hot rocks on the cave. They get very hot. Pours water on the rocks. Closes the cave mouth. Steam fills the cave. And gradually, eventually, the bindings that these feckless brothers are caught in start to soften and melt. Eventually, they drop down. She catches them. And at the same time, the steam is cleansing the poison out of their bodies. And eventually, they're cleansed of the poison. They're freed of the shackles, or that's not the right word, but you know what I mean. The gossamer, is that what it is? That she's wrapped them up, has melted, and the poison has drained out. They're upright on the earth, and they walk home out of the cave. That's a sweat lodge. This is like that. You come in here, basically you sort of get locked in here. Let's face it, more or less. You're sort of locked in. You're encouraged not to move. You're bound. You can't move. You're actually already upside down, but you don't know it. We've been seeing things back to front. Our view is back to front. We sit here, and what happens? What's the steam? The steam is the Dharma. The Dharma teaching. The teaching. Teaching, not meaning words coming out of Valerie's mouth and Henry's mouth. Not meaning that. Meaning the teaching of this practice of being here in a place where we practice like this, being, just being. Not doing, not engaging, being. Reckoning with the poisons within. Reckoning with the barbs and broken bits of cactus or whatever it is within. Letting them all be drawn out by the steam, by the warm steam. Sometimes scalding, but basically warm steam of the Dharma that knows how to clarify us and just return us to what we really are. Just like this. So, yes, fair enough. One of the treasures of our intrinsic nature, I mean, the final treasure of our intrinsic nature is what we discover in awakening, that we're not separate from anything. We're not separate from anything. Nothing is separate from anything. And yet at the same time, every last little tiniest speck on the tiniest fingernail is given. It is given to it to be itself perfectly. And yet nothing is separate from anything. And yet each last little thing is given to be exactly, fully, uniquely, perfectly itself. Both. On top of that, everything in the end is vast and void. Boundless, spaceless, sizeless. If there's no size, can't really be, in a sense, shape. Can't really be substance. Can't really be form. That's also true. And yet, that sizelessness, spacelessness, no thingness, it's exactly, it's exactly this little scribble. This is it. This is the final reality. There is no further reality than this. this is, you could say, this is a gateless gate that takes you to ultimate, what is ultimately real. But it's okay to maybe think like that a little bit, but it's also incorrect. It's not a gateway. It is it. This. It's not very nice paper, frankly. It's kind of thin and sort of, it's off one of those little pads. Definitely not very nice handwriting by yours truly. Not sure I can even read all of it, but this is it. This is the sort of ultimate truth of who we are. Just this. It's amazing. It is amazing, actually. And part of our practice is to see that and see how amazing it is. But then, by no means is that enough, because it's real. Therefore, in some sense, not amazing. We have to go beyond finding it amazing to just finding it normal, ordinary. Whew. Okay, so yes, true, fair enough, that's part of this, but there are other treasures that are not so sort of cosmic, They're just kind of more normal, but treasures nonetheless. So I just want to remind us of those. Just getting into a state of equanimous mindfulness, where we're just aware of what's going on, and we're finding that the awareness itself gives us, it's a rich enough experience in just being aware that we don't mind so much what's going on. It's okay if thoughts come. It's okay if a difficult feeling comes. It's all okay. That's equanimous mindfulness. It's beautiful to find that. Very beautiful. There's also our much studied friend flow, right? Flow states. They come on in sitting. It's called samadhi, where somehow this kind of little subtle grinding sense of effort somehow, it just is gone. There's no effort. No effort. Sense of time. How much longer is this damn sit going to go on? It's just gone. Time's gone. Why is it suddenly so nice? That's samadhi. How did the flip switch? I don't even know. But it does. We find that. As long as we don't seek it, and as long as we don't hold on to it, you can't hold on to it, then it'll come more and more. Those are nice. We can also get a sense sometimes of, I don't know, just of being supported. That somehow our very life is a support system. It's like we're already being held and supported just in existing at all. That comes on and sitting. These are nice things. And not to be, to be appreciated when they come on. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there, and next time I'll get to what I want to be the main subject of the 3 talks I'm giving, which is the start of the famous document called the Heart Sutra. So we're going to get to that next time. I want to give you a practice tip just to sort of take with you. What's it going to be, Henry? Let me just check what I had in mind here a couple of days ago. Yeah. Okay. I mean, when things are going well, good, enjoy. When things aren't going well, the most important thing, the single most helpful thing is to find a way of allowing it. Let it be the way it is. Because almost always when we're having a hard time, again, these 5 hindrances, they're going to come up. When we're having a hard time, 90% of it won't be the thing that we think it is, it'll be the resisting of the thing that we think it is, right? So when we're having a hard time, we'll fixate on the thing that we think is the problem, whether it's a emotion or uncontrollable mind or pain, physical pain, or just a round of regret. Why did I do that thing? Could be yesterday, or it could be 20 years ago. Why suddenly think of it now? Because you're in a retreat like this. That's why. And so what do you do? Just try to find the resisting of it. Don't try to deal with the problem thing. Just try to find what it is to be resisting your own experience, to fighting with the experience you're having. Just try to find that. Usually you might find some body sensation. The resistance is contraction in my belly or my chest or something. And just let it be there. Don't fight it. Don't fight the fighting. We call it allowing. Allowing. Whatever's going on, allow it. Whatever is going on, allow it. Allow it. Allow it. That's my number one piece of sort of guidance to take with you. And this is day 2. Remember, the first 2 days are like the first 2 pancakes. You toss them away, So don't worry how it's going. You can have a nap, you can do what you like, just get through them, okay? Then you can start bringing it all together for the days. Really, the first 2 days are just prelude. It's really a 4-day session that starts on day 2. You just got day 3. 4-day session starting on day 3, but with the great advantage we threw in 2 days just to warm up, okay? So you're really getting prepared for the real session. Starts tomorrow, okay? Okay? It's kind of like that, so don't worry about how it's going. Not at all. Okay, so that's the end of the talk, and let's see how much we can enjoy in our allowing. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.